Do you feel like you're doing all the right things, wearing all the right clothes and dressing yourself up and going to all the right places, but you're still running into all the wrong men? Well, we're going to talk about how you can align your feminine energy to attract the healthy partners and relationships that you truly want and deserve. Stay tuned to the Secret Formula of Femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Montero, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole, your guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. And I am so excited about today's topic. It's about attracting the right partner and how aligning your feminine energy is the key. That's the missing ingredient. And so, as I said in the intro, a lot of people feel like they're going by the script. They're following, all of these tips and what they should do to level up as a woman, and they're still running into the kind of people that they wouldn't dare be in a relationship with, or they've gotten themselves into a pattern of being in unhealthy relationships. So we're going to talk all about how aligning your feminine energy with what you truly want is the key to having a healthy relationship. And to have a healthy relationship, you have to attract a healthy partner or healthy pool of people to interact with and choose from. So I want to start off by telling you a story time. This is actually one of my coaching clients, and I'm going to give her the name Joanne. So Joanne came to me struggling to find the right partner. That was, she first came in like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed out. But when we really peel back all the layers, the thing that she was most upset about was her love life. Okay. She was constantly attracting men who didn't treat her well or didn't align with her values. And so it was people that just either like there were just so many red flags that she discovered later on, but then she was already wrapped up with them and she had to kind of, pull herself out. Or they were people who might have been nice, not necessarily bad people, but they didn't align with her goals and what she wanted for herself. And so, one of the things that she realized when we worked together is that she was dimming her light, but not in the way that you typically hear people talk about it. Because a lot of times people will talk about, don't dim your light, which I totally agree with, but they're talking about more in a professional way and with all of your accomplishments. But when it comes to love and relationships, those aren't the things necessarily that are going to make a relationship work or make you feel fulfilled or attract the kind of person you want. So, what she was doing was dimming her feminine energy. She was trying to fit in to what she had seen before her, which is that a woman had to be no nonsense, strong, independent, and somewhat controlling. And that would be the key to making sure that a woman would be protected in a relationship. She wouldn't be hurt, she wouldn't be taken advantage of. So she was approaching relationships from the perspective of self-defense mode. And as a result, her feminine energy was being dimmed. She didn't show anybody, she didn't feel comfortable sharing her soft side, sharing her more nurturing side. She didn't even feel comfortable showing her confidence as a woman without, having to fall back on being a boss and being accomplished and all of those things. So she had more of a one-sided view of herself. And so when we really got her to really understand her feminine energy and the power of it, the power of her softness, the power of soft power, then she was more well-rounded, right? We weren't telling her to, you know, hide the fact that she was an accomplished woman, but we were telling her that the goals, what we worked on together, the goals for her were to highlight her relationship skills, not necessarily her professional skills. And from doing that, everything shifted. Like she started to really embrace her true self. She felt more confident being vulnerable because she knew how to judge character better. So it wasn't a matter of like she had to be on defense mode to make sure that she didn't get hurt. Therefore, she was more comfortable and confident with her soft side. And once she did that, everything literally changed. She ended up having a really healthy dating life. She ended up meeting someone. They courted for a short time. She met this man that she's married to today, and he cherishes her. He values her. He protects and cares for her. And these were all things that she said she wanted, right? I didn't pick these relationship goals for her. These were things that she wanted. But the way she was showing up wasn't attracting those kind of people. She was showing up more in her masculine mode, more in her boss chick mode. And therefore, she was attracting the kind of men that were almost like employees, workers, men who were more in their feminine. So we really helped to pinpoint what she wanted, how she needed to show up, and how she could truly attract it. So, Joanne is married to, she said this is the love of her life, and they are really aligned and they're immersed in a healthy marriage. Does it mean it's perfect? Everything is bliss and roses all the time? No, absolutely not. That is not what marriage is. Marriage is being aligned with someone that you are willing to go through the journey with, that you are willing to walk the road with. And Joanne has truly found that. And she's so comfortable. Like when I look at her today versus then, she is so comfortable falling back. She's so comfortable allowing her partner to show up as his authentic self in his masculine energy, and they complement each other so well. So I'm so excited for her. So I just wanted to share that with you because I know a lot of women can relate to that. You think you're showing up one way, but the feedback and what you're attracting says that you're showing up in a way that is actually repelling what you truly want. So, let's go back again, pull it back, right? What about this feminine energy? As I've said over and over, and I want you to really take this in, feminine energy is a way of being. It's about being open, being able to receive. So you're being receptive. You're in a mode of just receiving a compliment, receiving someone doing something for you, not always feeling like you have to jump up and jump in and take control all of the time. But it's also about you being authentic. Authentic, though, with your emotions and with your feelings, and not always having to fall back on those external things. A lot of times, accomplished women will fall back on their accomplishments. And in a relationship, that is not necessarily the thing that you need, right? To connect with someone and to really be with someone that aligns with your values, you have to first connect with yourself. So when you're in a relationship, feminine energy is magnetic. It's the more magnetic of the two, right? It draws in because it complements the masculine energy, but it is just magnetic overall because it's rooted in being confident, being grounded, and knowing who you are. You have heard me say you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still going to be a pig. You can dress up a woman who's not in touch with her feminine, but that doesn't make her feminine. She's just dressed up in another energy outside of her feminine energy. So when you start to embody your feminine energy, you create space for the right person. Now, most of the women that I talk to, when it comes down to it, they want a man who is in his healthy masculine. They want a man who's not afraid to lead, who's not afraid to step up and help, who's not afraid to put it all on the line for her. But she has to therefore let down her walls because men also need you to put it on the line for them. That's in the form of loyalty and support and so forth. So when you're embodying your feminine energy, you really clear out all the other stuff, which is usually being in defense mode, and that blocks the kind of man that you truly want, the kind of partner you want. Because when you're in defense mode, contrary to what you might think, that ends up bringing in individuals who sense your vulnerability and sense your fragility, and they're going to want to take advantage of it. And actually, when you're in a place of being more open, because you have done the work, you have more discernment. See, the more discernment, the more you're able to judge what's good for you and what's not good for you. You're able to be more open because you know that ultimately you're going to be able to protect yourself from somebody that's not healthy for you. So it's this thing of like, the harder you seem, you tend to attract the kind of people that are looking to take advantage of you because they know you're hurt and they know you haven't healed yet. And they know that if they stay long enough and study you long enough, they're going to be able to find an end to be able to try to exploit your vulnerabilities. So that openness that healed you is what attracts the kind of masculinity that you're looking for. And that's where the magic happens. I hear so many women say they they feel like they're in a relationship or they've been in a relationship where the man won't step up. But when we go through different examples and different scenarios, what we find is one of three things is happening. One is she's in a mode of being overly critical, critiquing all the time, nitpicking things. This isn't how I want it. That's not how I want it. And it ends up creating like a mother son dynamic versus a lover partner, relationship dynamic. The second thing is when she takes things overly personal. So whenever it's time to like just have a tough conversation or for him to express himself in his masculine way, she takes it personally because it hits a point, it's a trigger where she's hurt and she feels like it's something negative about her versus trying to hear and understand how he's communicating. And then that, what happens is you do that so many times, you take it personally, he starts to shut down, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing that I tend to see is just the need for control overall. So it's hard for anyone to step up and lead because you're in the mode of like, no one can do it like me, right? And that goes back to that space of being overly critical and nitpicking. So, wanting to control everything, including things in the relationship. And so, when you start to embody your feminine energy, we chip away, right? When I coach women, we chip away at that overcritical part, um, that part where you're taking everything personally, and that part where you're trying to control everything. As you are continuing to embody your feminine energy, there's some challenges to finding the right partner. So I'm not going to just sit here and say, it's something that you just manifest. Ladies, and this is also for those of you who are married or in relationships, you might have to rediscover your man so that you can create you sometimes things get stale and sometimes you have to spice it up and you have to create the relationship that you want. You all can decide that like how we're doing it is not how we have to keep doing it. So these tips are for everybody. But some challenges to attracting the right partner are two things: a lack of self-awareness and settling for less. A lack of self-awareness. One of the things is sometimes we are just not aware of how we come off. We don't truly even understand ourselves, what we truly desire, what we need, what we value. So many women are creating their list of what they want in a man based on what they have heard other people say, what they see on social media, what the latest, trends are. and they aren't really taking time to be aware of what they desire, what they need, what they value. So you might end up attracting people, random people, partners that aren't aligned with you because you aren't aligned with yourself. You don't know anything from, the external. What does everyone want? They want a tall, handsome man that's making six figures. Outside of that, a lot of people can't tell you. They can't tell you what are the core values that they have that they would like to look for in a partner. They can't tell you what they want communication to look like in their relationship. They can't tell you how they would want their partner or how they would deal with things where you don't see eye to eye and there has to be some sort of compromise. Like they haven't taken time to really dig deep into what the nuts and bolts of the relationship that they want to be in would look like. So that's where you have to understand your values. You have to understand what are the qualities. Do you want someone who values honesty and integrity? And what does it look like to know that someone isn't honest or doesn't have integrity? What does it look like to be able to judge someone outside of what they present externally? Because, ladies, if we hear all the time people talking about, oh, I was dating a narcissist, right? There aren't that many narcissists in the world right now. Everybody is an armchair psychologist diagnosing people as narcissists. It's just that you probably were with someone who was self absorbed because you were caught up in the superficial. And that's what happens when people notice that you're caught up in the superficial. They show you the superficial and, they use that to pull you in. So the self-awareness of like what the qualities are, how would you know if a person had these qualities or not? See, I'm the type of person, I look at the little things. I look at the little things. I look at everything from, does this person litter? Does this person, are they inconsiderate? If you go out, do they, talk rudely to people just because they're the workers? Do they, how do they just talk about small things? Do they make up little lies to try to impress you that you catch them in? And are you willing to overlook those things? Do you confront those things? How important are those things to you? So I want you to think about getting a level of self awareness where you get so into the details, where you can imagine and envision what it would look like to know that someone has these values that you have. Do you want them to be of the same religious background as you? And how are you judging how much they practice their religion versus just, using it to say that that's what they are? So that level of self-awareness, we talk about journaling. You have to journal what things like communication would look like, what things like green flags would look like for the values that you want in a partner, and what red flags would look like. The other thing, so I said there were two things: self awareness holds, or lack of self awareness holds women back, and settling for less. Some of us are so in the scarcity mindset. We have been so conditioned that any relationship is better, right? So we're all over the place. On the one hand, we're like, I don't need a man. And then on the other hand, we have a scarcity mindset deep within where we're willing to accept anything. So it's real crazy, right? And so we get conditioned that we should be grateful that anyone is attracted to us. That's because we're looking for outside validation of our worth and our value and our desirability. Now, of course, it is a two-way street, right? Like you know that you're desirable because you're desired. But if you don't first feel desirable, it's not going to radiate out and other people aren't going to want to desire you. It's this crazy cycle where when you come off as too desperate, too willing to settle, it's not attractive. I've seen people online saying things like, I've been single. I've been looking for my husband for 10 years now. Where is he? And it's like, no, I would suggest you don't do that, because what you're saying is, I haven't, you're kind of implying that your desirability is down. And what you have to do is you have to feel desirable. So you radiate that out and it ends up attracting. So it really is an energy. So we have to stop settling for less. On the outside, saying, I don't need anybody, but on the inside, being willing to accept any crumbs that come our way. And sometimes what's driving it is a fear of being alone. It can make us lower our standards. We're afraid that, if we're alone for 1 or 2 nights, that means we're going to be alone forever. Sometimes you have to be patient and be willing to pass over the thing that would give you temporary comfort, because your true prize is at the end of, the work that you've done on yourself, being patient and not just being desperate. That's really the word. We can call it settling, but you cannot allow yourself to get in the mode of desperation. I'm going to give you an analogy. If anybody is into stocks, the stock market, I'm into the stock market, trading stocks, buying long term, and so forth. So I read so many books on trading, the mindset of a trader, and you have to have confidence. That's one of the key things. And you have to not panic. You can't be desperate. If you already have your thesis, your hypothesis, you've studied the companies, the stocks that you're dealing with, you have to be willing to stick to it, right? You have to have a pre planned or predetermined plan about how far it has to go before you sell, or at what point you want to buy. And you have to do that ahead of time so that you don't panic, because the stock market can go crazy from hour to hour, during the day, from day to day, right? There's so many things. But if you really study the companies and the stocks that you're trading, you have an idea of how it's going to perform. And therefore, you're willing to stay calm. You're willing to not panic. You're willing to not get desperate, because when you panic and you get desperate, you lose money, or you leave too much of the profits on the table. You pull out too soon, or you jump in too quick. And it's the same thing with attracting a partner. That's where the self-awareness is. You have to understand who you are, what it is that you have to offer. And ladies, I'm not talking about all of the stuff that we hear, the degrees and how much money you make. Those aren't the things that make a relationship function. What do you have to offer in terms of communication, in terms of your femininity, in terms of your ability to tap into your emotions and therefore be supportive of your partner, right? Those are the things. And when you know what you have to offer, then it makes more sense for you to want certain things that your partner has to offer. But it can't be this thing of like, I am so desperate, I will take anything that looks halfway decent, because, I don't want to be alone. You have to be willing to not panic, to not be desperate. You also have to be realistic about what you have to work on. I watch a lot of the online dating shows. It's like me doing my research. And time again, when the women come up and they're asked, there's a few of them. There's like the Kendra G show, there's the Balloon Pop. These are my guilty pleasures and also my research sources. And they will ask some of the women, what do you have to work on? Or, what's a flaw that you have? And so many of them say, my mouth. I go off, I snap off, I go from 0 to 100, just like that. Like I communicate really harshly. And so the good thing about them saying that is they have a level of self awareness. Somebody must have told them, listen, hey, sis, this is not working. So they have that self awareness. But beyond self awareness, you have to work on it. And so that you have to understand what you have to offer and what you still need to work on. Communication is a big one because so many people are quick to get upset, quick to lash out and be harsh and be hard, and they're slow to listen and to see the other person's perspective. And so, if that is something that you have worked on, that is truly something you have to offer in a relationship. And so, therefore, you shouldn't settle for somebody who also doesn't communicate, who gets angry and lashes out. You certainly shouldn't settle for violence. But I mean, if you have someone who's immature in their communication, you need to ask yourself, like, is this just something where, you all have to get to know each other? Or is this a character trait that they haven't worked on or are not willing to work on? But you can only do that when you're willing to have standards. Okay? So, those two things, if we can work on the lack of awareness and uh, settling for less, then I think that will help you to align more with people that are of your level and that value you the way you value yourself. So, would you believe there's some research on the qualities that are associated with feminine energy and how they relate to being able to select the partner that you want, right? That's the bottom line. Everybody wants to be with someone that they want to be with. They don't want to just settle. They want to be with someone that they find attractive holistically, like their personality, everything, and someone that they are attractive as a person to that partner. So there's research on the fact that being emotionally open, confident, and nurturing, these are all feminine energy qualities. Those women tend to attract partners who value emotional connection and intimacy. Now, what is the number one thing that you hear a lot of women say that they're looking for? They're looking for a man who has emotional intelligence and who can communicate. That's what you're hearing, right? Like everyone's like, I don't want to do it just like the old days where, those weren't the qualities that you got to choose in a man. Women are wanting emotional intelligence and communication. Well, how do you attract a man on that level? It has to be someone who values those things. And the more that you are emotionally open, confident, and nurturing, you will attract someone who values those qualities in you, but also values emotional connection and communication. Research also shows that people who are in touch with their authentic selves, so remember, we're talking about true femininity. We're not talking about having being a pig with lipstick on and looking cute. It has to be within as well. That people who are more in touch with their authentic selves tend to be able to form or find more compatible and experience more lasting relationships. And that just makes sense, right? Because they're coming into the relationship not with all of these masks on where they're trying to just impress. Now, let's be honest, there is always an element of putting your best self forward when you go out into the world. But you shouldn't be having masks or mask upon mask upon mask on to where when you really get to know someone and spend time with them, they don't even recognize the real you because it's so different from the mask. The goal is to be your authentic self when you're out in the world. And so when you're able to do that and understand what you truly align with, what you value. Now, some people value material things above and beyond everything else. There's no problem with that. They just have to understand that if they put a high premium only on material things, then that you might not get the whole package. You might get the man that's the 7, 8 figure man, but he may be lacking in some of these other characteristics of a healthy relationship. Now, I'm not saying that just because somebody's a 7, 8, 9 figure man, that they don't have the honesty, the integrity. I'm just saying if you only focus on that, you are going to be blind to some of the other things that you might actually value, but you never took the time to ask yourself what is the list of the top 5 most important things in a relationship. You really have to ask yourself, what are the 5 most important things in a partner and that you want to experience in a relationship? All right, so let's get into some tips. As always, we have to do some tips, right? Some actionable steps, things that you can do to start attracting a healthy man. Like, you do not want to keep attracting the kind of people that show that some of us engage in patterns. And so if you've been on the end of complaining, like, I'm sick of these men, the dating pool is trash, there's nobody out there, you have to reset your mindset and focus on who do you want to attract. And then you focus on how do I attract someone like that. So the first thing is, we said one challenge is lack of self-awareness. So the first tip is to practice self-awareness. Take time each day. You have to put energy into this. Take time each day, take 5 minutes at the end of the day to journal, to really explore like where you are, what you're looking for, what you value, and what that might look like in a partner. So before you come up with a list of the top 100 lists, you need to first be self aware. What are you looking for in a relationship? Do you get clear? Like, are you looking to be in a committed relationship? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have a family? You need to be clear on all of those things. What is non-negotiable? Like, I know for me, if somebody were smoking or drinking, smoking, doing drugs, and all that kind of stuff, that would be a non negotiable. That's me. Ask yourself, what is a non negotiable for yourself? What kind of energy do you want in your life? Some people are in a phase where they want another hustler. Some people want to be in a phase where they can be in their soft woman era. Like, what is it that the energy that you want to have in your life? The second tip is to embrace your feminine energy. Stop trying to chase love. Learn to attract love. Let me say it again. Stop trying to chase love. Learn to attract love. Right? So stop trying to focus on, everywhere. I got to be everywhere and I have to put myself out there. Yes, you have to put yourself out there in the sense that you can't be a hermit and stay in the house 24/7 and expect to meet someone, but don't chase. Go to things that you enjoy. Go to places and events and uh, outings that are enjoyable to you so that you're not so focused on everybody else. And that is so, so attractive. When you walk out and you are just confident and feeling, content in the moment, that is really attractive. And that is the true expression of your feminine energy. Number 3 is set boundaries. Set boundaries. And I'm going to tell you over and over, I always talk about my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint. The foundation is and it's for women who are finally ready to win at love. The foundation is, you can't have a healthy relationship. You can't even have healthy self-love if you don't work on healthy boundaries. And so when it comes to relationships, you have to be okay with the standards that you have for yourself. Not these like unrealistic standards, but just basic standards, especially about someone's character. And you have to be willing to say no to relationships that don't align with you. Now, does that mean that you don't go out and, you're standoffish? No, it doesn't mean that. But it means that you understand that just because someone expresses interest in you doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. I see that a lot, right? A lot of women, whoever is the first person to express interest, if it's a halfway decent person, that's who they go with. So you want to be able to set standards, um, not feel like you're pressured into saying yes to things that you don't want to, and say no to relationships that don't align with your goals. And the fourth tip is be selective. Okay, it's okay to be selective in your approach. You don't have to entertain every option. It's like imagine if you were walking down the street, and sadly, it still happens where women get catcalled and all of that stuff. But like if every person that catcalled you, you stopped and you talked to them and you gave them your phone number, right? That's like literally entertaining every option. Just because someone reaches out to you or wants to get to know you, it doesn't mean that you have to entertain that. Because not only is an unhealthy pattern about who you're attracting, right? We say you attract who you are. The pattern is really about who are you entertaining? Because sometimes you might, there might be people who don't meet your standard, not what you're looking for. They might be attracted to you, but it's really about you. Who are you entertaining and for what reason? If you're again in that lack mindset, in that desperation place, you're going to be entertaining people that aren't for you. So practice self awareness, embrace your feminine energy, stop trying to control everything, set boundaries, and be selective. All right. Oh, one last thing. So that's about attracting the right partner. But once you do all of this inner work, you work on the energy you put out, the energy you attract, what you entertain, you have to do some of the hard work. So many people are phobic of commitment, they're commitment phobes. They are afraid to commit. And so that's when they get into the nitpicking, tearing somebody apart, even after they've met certain standards that you have. That's a sign that you are afraid of commitment. You are just in the phase of looking, and you're never ready to commit or settle down. So, and these are people who say they want to settle down. So you have to start thinking about that. Are you afraid of commitment? And I know that's a whole other episode, but that's something to keep in mind too. All right, so I have one question. Somebody said, what if I keep attracting the wrong kind of partner? The first step is self reflection. Ask yourself, what are the patterns? Who are you attracting? What do they resemble in your earlier life? Usually, when we keep repeating things, we're unconsciously repeating or going back to something we're trying to work out from our past, either our childhood or past relationships. And so that means it's an opportunity for personal growth. What are you afraid to say no to that you keep attracting people that are not healthy? What are you afraid of as far as really understanding your current values right now? Because I think sometimes we tend to go with what's familiar. So if we've done it in the past, even if it didn't work out, it feels a little safer and more familiar than trying something different in the present or for the future. So you really want to get clear about your boundaries, trusting yourself, trusting that the right partner will come, and trusting that you can you can have discernment and see those red flags. And don't be afraid. You have to be balanced. Some people are so quick, their cutoff game is so on point that they never allow anyone, they never get a chance to get to know anyone. And then some people are so far on the other extreme, they accept any and everything. It's almost as if they don't have any standards. So you want to be balanced enough where you give somebody enough of a chance. Now, I'm saying someone that, meets your standards and criteria. You give them enough of a chance, but you're not willing to be abused, mistreated, dismissed, and so forth. And so you really have to look at what are the patterns telling you about yourself, because they are certainly giving you a message. And, one pattern I see a lot, and I know a lot of people are talking about attachment styles. So, one pattern I see a lot is women with an anxious attachment being attracted to and attracting men with an avoidant attachment. And so those are women who are more insecure. They're afraid that the person is going to leave. Any little signal that that person is not totally into them, they perceive it as like a threat that they're going to be abandoned. And the avoidant type feels easily suffocated. So if there's too many overtures, too much, like checking in and trying to get close, they feel uncomfortable. And so I see that a lot, that you would think, right, that the anxious person, why would they want someone who's avoidant and is pulling away? Why would the avoidant person want someone who's anxious and always smothering them? But those two tend to attract. We see that a lot because each person is trying to work out something from their childhood or from a past relationship. So the self reflection and self awareness is a key part of trying to understand those patterns and break out of them. I love that question though. All right, I want to thank you again for joining me on this episode. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, to subscribe to the channel, put the notifications on so you don't miss the episodes. Episodes come out every Monday evening. If you are listening on any of the platforms, give us a follow, leave a review. It means a lot. The more that we have people subscribing and we have reviews, if you have any comments, it really, really helps us. I appreciate it. So I want you to know that attracting the right partner isn't about just filling a space in your life. It's about having someone who aligns with what you value, what's important to you. And when you align your feminine energy with what you desire, so you allow yourself to be in receiving mode and to tap into your softer side, your nurturing side, you are going to attract the kind of healthy partner that you want, right? So I know it seems like the opposite, but really lean into that feminine energy. If you are looking for more ways to align, to do just that, like how do I align my feminine energy and attract the love that you deserve, or to really level up your current relationship? Maybe you all started off, you didn't have all the skills and you're looking for more of those skills. You can get my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint, for women who are finally ready to win at love. And if you want some more, like even more support, my community, the Boundaries to Bliss Society, is the place that you want to be. Supportive. We do live coaching calls. We have recorded master classes, everything that you need to understand your femininity, tap into your feminine energy, and have the healthy, fulfilling relationships that you deserve. All right, everybody, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining. Stay feminine, stay attuned to yourself, and keep shining. I'm Dr. Nicole.